Muy buenos días. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cafecito con HACE. I hope you are staying well and focused on what you can control. My name is Patricia Mota, and I'm currently serving as President and CEO of HACE, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement. Welcome, HACE familia and new familia. Welcome to our Cafecito con HACE. We are a national 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latino talent, providing the community the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. So if this is your first time, welcome. And if this is your regular tune in on Wednesday mornings, welcome back. For those of you that are in career transition, we do have an upcoming recruitment series opportunity focused on tech careers. Some of our partners that are participating include Trellix, Accenture, BMO Harris, and TIA. So check it out on the link in the chat. Go to the asset website. Again, you're not sure, come meet some awesome people that I want to get to know you and talk about some amazing career opportunities in tech. And so today I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, Felix. Bienvenido. Good morning. He is a strategy leader, Spanish product manager at GEICO throughout the US, and was also responsible for creating Somos, which we'll get to learn a little bit more of. Felix, buenos días y salud. La primera pregunta siempre es, ¿cómo te gusta tu cafecito? How do you like your coffee or your morning beverage of choice?
Salud, como dices, Patricia. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. So to answer your question, I start my morning very early with a glass of water and my super greens, right? Just to set the intention for a healthy day. And then around 8 a.m., Patricia, I have my dark coffee with a splash of almond milk, and that can either be hot or ice.
Nice. The greens, I have to ask, is it the powder or do you actually, I started doing the powder lately.
So I did the powder because when you start mixing kale, spinach, broccoli in the blender, it's not too tasteful. So I stick to the powder.
The powder is an acquired taste, but it does make it a little bit easier.
Right.
And then go on to the cafecito. So good morning. We've got team members such as Jillian saying hello, Cindy, buenos dias, our GEICO friends over here, cheering on Felix. So Felix, can you tell us, one of the key things I love about Cafecito is we're sharing, connecting folks with one another, and we are encouraging all of you all that are in the chat, tuning in to network in the chat, get your questions ready for Felix, for one another. But Felix, tell us about your background in terms of your cultural background, in terms of how you got to what you're doing in your career today.
Definitely. So I'm gonna get a little personal here, just like if we were having a regular cafecito in person. I was born and raised in the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Both of my parents and grandparents, I would say, have been vital to my development as a human being and as a professional. Both of my parents were and are entrepreneurs and business owners. So from a very early age, I grew up understanding the importance of being a leader, the importance of having clear communication, and of course, the importance of executing towards results, right? So long story short, Patricia and our viewers, at the age of 15, I was introduced to the world of insurance. From that time on, I knew that I needed to be part of this industry. And fast forward to today, for the last 4 years, I've had the blessing to be part of GEICO, where I've had the opportunity to lead sales, customer service departments, and now the company-wide Somos strategy, which is our Spanish division that you referred to early on the conversation.
Wonderful. And it's always amazing how impactful our upbringings, our parents, our grandparents, those that have come before us, right, leave an impact. And I'm sure you are doing the same for those coming right along and those that are looking up to you, which is why we love sharing your stories. And I love that you're sharing your story here. Can you talk a little bit more? I know we want to talk about more about businesses and the work that you're doing, but about Somos, because I think it's a critical division that I think you mentioned earlier. You started with a small group, right? And now is expanded. And I think that's something to be very proud of. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Of course. That's one of I would say one of the things that I'm proud the most to be part of this journey. And it all started back in 2019, where we know our Spanish speaking community continues to grow. Today, it's almost 20% of the entire US population. And insurance can be a little bit confusing, right? Not only for English speakers, but also for our Latinx community.
Yeah.
Because we may not be used to having insurance in our respective countries. So this has always been a friction point in terms of making sure that we're providing Spanish support to our community. So I would like to talk through, the 4 steps, I would say in a summary, high level, that we did to obtain this type of support, and in a way that the viewers can apply it and also use it to get buy-in for other projects, ideas they may have. And Patricia, I would say that the first one is when you're working with executive and senior leadership, the first main step you need to have is you need to be direct and concise with the specific support and investment you're going to obtain, right? So what is it that you're asking for? Second, you need to be clearly and be able to communicate the problem you're trying to solve, right? Because it's not only let's have Spanish support for insurance, is what problem are you solving? What vision is that going to get help you get there? Most importantly is we need to make sure that we're always placing the people and our customer at the center of our strategy, right? Sometimes we may get caught up with the business agenda and the business results, and at the end of the day, the people are driving these results. The business is for the people. So making sure that that is in the center of our strategy. And then third is you need to make sure that you're clearly bringing to your executive the solution to the problem. And this should be your headline in 2 sentences or less, Patricia. Nothing more.
This is a crash course. I hope you all are taking notes.
Right. And I would say, Patricia, this is a crucial component to include here is you need to be able to understand what is the overall company's priority and how they align with your priorities and your recommendation. Because most likely the initial investment is going through the business priority. So you need to make sure that you can sell, that you have clear facts on what this solution is going to help. And most importantly, you need to make sure that these facts and solutions can be talking about the market size, cost savings on improving outdated processes. How do you improve customer experience by having Spanish? So I can go on and on.
I love it.
Patricia,
I love it. So
to have a plan.
I think this is critical, Felix. Thank you for sharing your first steps process, because you were able to create something that not only is of value to a growing, thriving community, right? That is needed, but also the value back in terms of the business need, the business imperative behind it, right? So whether you're pitching an idea at your specific company that's going to drive revenue back to the organization and also create value for a specific community, or whether you're launching your own business, for those of you tuning in, I think these steps are very critical, right? So you're talking about being able to communicate to executive C-level and understand how to communicate, right? Being able to talk the why in terms of why it's needed, being able to incorporate the people factor, right? In terms of why people, what the necessity behind a specific niche. And then the fourth one
and the last one is you need to be able to wrap all that together into an elevator pitch, no longer than 20 minutes, because you're going to lose your executive's attention and focus. So in 10 minutes, and you summarize this super well, Patricia, is you need to come back and be ready. And this is one of the things I wish I would have learned before, but everything happens for a reason, is you need to be ready to at least take 5 rejections, at least 5. And you need to be very intentional about paying attention to what those rejections are, because you can't stop at the first no. Again, you're going to get at least 5, and you need to be able to come back to your team with those obstacles, solve them, and come back to square, which is not 1, is you're ahead now, but you come back with those questions answered so you can finally get the support you need. Because at the end of the day, you need the support not for you, but for the people that you're leading.
the people that you're leading. So think about what is that cause, that project, that initiative, that business idea that you're looking to push forward, and consider these steps and putting them into practice, because Felix has an example in terms of his story and how it worked well to create Somos. And I think a lot of us are proud to hear that and proud to see, Latinos driving initiatives that not only are great for business, but for the community. And I see that a lot of your colegas, your colleagues are on here giving you some shout outs and are very proud as well. So for those of you tuning in, get your questions ready. I want to take a spin in terms of, we talk a lot, here we have Rachel also giving a shout out for Somos, and you had other colleagues. One of the biggest things that why HACE exists, right, is we still have lack of representation in terms of Latinos into executive roles, and we're all moving the needle collectively, right? But there's some key things in terms of we bring to the table in terms of cultural norms, cultural values. And so how have you continued to remain authentic? And I think that's critical in every leader today, in terms of who you are, and continue to drive and lead within your space at GEICO and the organizations that you've been at.
Right. I think the first step, Patricia, is just like you alluded to, is first need to understand there's a big gap. And the gap with facts is 20% of US population today is Hispanic, and 4% of senior executives are Hispanic in all United States. So we're talking about a 16 points percentage gap. And that should use and be your fuel. That should be your motivation to say, what can I do? What can I lead towards my, because of my actions to fulfill that gap, to bridge that gap. And then I will say to be intentional about not forgetting where you come from, right? We have a lot of talent across the United States, either born in their respective Hispanic companies or born in the States, but have, Hispanic descendancy. And I think always making sure that you're allocating time to have quality conversations with people that come from where you come from, so you never forget who you truly are. And then I will say the number third, which is something that I continue to work on, is to be fearless and courageous. At times, I think you have the famous imposter syndrome kicking on. Am I ready? Should I be the one doing this? And that's something that you should silence right away and say, look, I'm here for a reason. And I remind myself of one of Jeff Bezos' saying, which is disagree, but commit. And that, in short, it means it's okay to have differences. It's okay to be different. It's actually good, but make sure that you are staying focused on what you're trying to solve. And again, it comes back to the people. At the end of the day, you are serving people. And if you keep that in mind, no matter what differences you have, you can always bring your authentic self to wherever you are. And people will appreciate that.
Absolutely. Amazing tips and all. I think in order to really be an effective leader in terms of achieving your high potential, I truly believe in it. It is a proven fact that you have to lead authentically to who you are. And that's what I love about you sharing your story and what you've been able to drive as a result. And I think sometimes it's tough for folks. And all of the examples that you gave were more about controlling yourself in terms of what you can control, right? Because there's so many other factors in our environments, and we know this, I think, very well, more than especially the last couple of years, that we cannot control, right? So how are we ensuring that we're empowering ourselves to be true to who we are, but then build that courageous leadership muscle, so when it comes to advocating for ourselves, for that next project, for that next opportunity, that we're being comfortable doing so, or we're pushing ourselves to do so, right? Because we all know we grow when we're uncomfortable, right? So we want to hear from you all. Are you all leading authentically day to day? What are some of the challenges that you have in terms of being able to get there? How can HACE help you get there? One of the things that, and I have one of our colleagues talking about using your passion to find those gaps where we need to represent and be represented. Absolutely, Bernice. I think that's exactly, what Felix mentioned, and to the point. But we also want to hear from you in terms of one of the challenges. One last thing I'll say on leading authentically, we just had our graduation of our cohort of Mujeres de HACE a couple of weeks ago. And one of the testimonials shared, I say for the first time in my workplace that I'm Mexican American. Born in the US, she would always say, I'm American, but but how, we need to empower one another to say, be proud in terms of your heritage and your background, and how that really helps us grow. What else tips would you say, Felix, to the Latinx community, the Latino community, in terms of key takeaways when they're looking to, pitch that idea? I know you already mentioned several, but if any resources or tips that you want to be able to add to that.
Definitely, Patricia. And I will say, not to repeat myself, but the same thing you brought up at the beginning of the chat, you said, stay focused in what's in your control. And I think we're first responsible about our attitudes, our actions. And most importantly, I would say, number one, the message I want all the viewers to take away is focus on what you can do better. Focus on the actions you're taking to drive forward either the project or the idea. But when you put yourself first and you hold yourself to a higher standard than what even the company is holding you to, you start achieving things that were impossible in the past. And the other part is, I would say, our culture is very special. Here you're seeing words of passion. You're seeing words of, yes, let's cheer for each other. Let's never lose that, right? Because I think sometimes we may shy away from doing the right thing because of being different or because of disagreements. Embrace that. It's okay to disagree. It's actually good. And I will say that one of the main messages I want you all to take away is embrace our culture. That's what makes us different, and that makes us who we are.
Embrace our culture, and it makes us who we are. I love that, Felix. All of you engaging, we want to hear about who you are. Put it in the chat. And any question. I think we have a few minutes left for any questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Do you have a favorite book or podcast or resource? I know that's usually a popular question that we want.
Yes, definitely. I will say one of people like John Maxwell podcasts are great. One of the favorite books that I tell you, Patricia, I've read about 4 times already is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. And in a nutshell, it embraces 4 of the main components of what you can be doing to drive your life forward among health, your heart, your mind, and your soul. And as cliche as that can sound, when you focus on what you controlling those 4 components, they start transpiring in your life, in business, in personal relationships, etc. So 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, John Maxwell, Stephen Covey, etc. I would say those are my top 3 go-to authors and authentic leaders.
I love that. John Maxwell, one of my favorites. Stephen Covey as well. I've not heard of the 5 a.m. Club, but I'll make sure to look that one up. Those of you, I hope you're taking notes. I know Justo, one of our team members, partnership managers, who many of you know has been on here too, is sharing some of the career opportunities at GEICO. And so, Felix, we are wrapping up. Any positive story or what you're most hopeful for?
Yes, a positive story this year has been the first year in GEICO that we've enabled translated digital channels for our customers to empower them to manage their policy. And we're excited because we're leading the industry, and we're making sure that we're not only being available through the phone, but we know our population is very tech savvy. So we are very focused on enabling all channels possible for them to control their policy and feel in control. So that gives me hope and optimistic that it is possible.
I love it. So if you're interested in learning more, make sure to visit on the GEICO website. I know Justo on the HACE team, I posted the link on the comment section as well. Connect with Felix on LinkedIn. I know he's on LinkedIn as well. And to continue the conversation, we're appreciative of the partnership, but most importantly, of what you are doing, what GEICO is doing to ensure that we are including the Latino community and all that we do. That's part of the HACE mission. And so we appreciate that. Felix, thank you for your time. Gracias a todos y hasta la próxima. Until next time, everyone.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.
Bendiciones. Bye-bye.
Bendiciones. Bye-bye.